Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma and with me is Saira Mujtaba bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls upon developed countries to fulfill their commitments on finance and technology transfer for successful climate action. Russia announces end of military drills in Crimea. US President Joe Biden asserts that diplomatic solution and de-escalation are still possibilities. Government of India sets up a control room to provide information and assistance to Indians in Ukraine. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to hold a virtual summit on Friday. Maiden voyage of shipment of steel from Haldia to Pandu takes place through the Indo-Bangladesh Protocol route. Noted Bollywood music composer and singer Bapi Lahiri passes away in Mumbai, funeral to be held on Thursday. And in cricket, in the first T20 International, India chase a victory target of 158 runs against the West Indies at the Eden Gardens. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant, get fully vaccinated, and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi has said that environmental sustainability can only be achieved through climate justice. Delivering the inaugural address at the Energy and Resources Institute's TERI World Sustainable Development Summit on Wednesday evening through video message, Mr. Modi urged developed countries to fulfill their commitments on finance and technology transfer for successful climate action. He said sustainability requires coordinated action for the global commons. He also said that energy requirements of the people of India are expected to nearly double in the next 20 years, and denying this energy would be denying life itself to millions.
Equitable energy access to the poor has been a cornerstone of our environmental policy. Through Ujjwala Yojana, more than 90 million households have been provided access to clean cooking fuel. Under the PM Kusum scheme, we have taken renewable energy to the farmers.
Mr. Modi expressed happiness that 2 more wetlands from India have got recognition at the Ramsar sites recently. He said India now has 49 Ramsar sites spread over more than 1 million hectares. The Prime Minister said, through the International Solar Alliance, India's aim is one sun, one world, one grid.
We are encouraging farmers to set up solar panels, use it and sell surplus power to the grid. Standalone solar pumps as well as efforts for solarizing existing pumps are being scaled up. Our focus on chemical-free natural farming will also help promote sustainability and equity.
The Prime Minister said the schemes for the distribution of LED bulbs has helped over 220 billion units of electricity and 180 billion tons of CO2 emissions annually in the past 7 years. Mr. Modi said the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI, aims to build strong infrastructure in areas prone to frequent natural disasters. He also underlined the launch of the Infrastructure for Resilient Island States initiative on the sidelines of COP26, as the island developing states are the most vulnerable and hence need urgent protection. Speaking on the potential of green hydrogen, the Prime Minister encouraged academic and research institutes like TERI to come up with scalable solutions.
We have announced the setting of the National Hydrogen Mission. It aims to tap into green hydrogen and exciting technology to power our future. I encourage academic and research institutes like TERI to come up with sustainable solutions to realize the potential of green hydrogen.
The Prime Minister also talked about the third initiative launched at COP26, Lifestyle for Environment or Life. He said, life is about making lifestyle choices to improve our planet, and it will be a coalition of like-minded people across the world who will promote sustainable lifestyles.
Russia's Defense Ministry has announced the end of Crimea military drills. The ministry shared a video of Russian military equipment and forces leaving Crimea. According to reports, the move comes after Moscow said that some of its troops are returning to home bases, indicating cooling of tensions regarding the Ukraine issue. Meanwhile, a series of cyber attacks knocked the websites of the Ukrainian army, the defense ministry, and major banks offline. At least 10 Ukrainian websites were unreachable due to the attacks, including the defense, foreign and culture ministries, and those of Ukraine's two largest state banks. In response to reports of the pullout of Russian troops, U.S. President Joe Biden said that the reports are awaiting verification, but analysts indicate that they remain very much in a threatening position. Mr. Biden said that Russia still has more than 150,000 troops encircling Ukraine in Belarus and along Ukraine's border. Expressing that the U.S. and its allies are prepared for any eventuality, President Biden said that there is still plenty of room for diplomacy and for de-escalation. Mr. Biden reiterated his earlier statement that in case Russia invades Ukraine, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that would bring natural gas from Russia to Germany will not happen. The Embassy of India in Kiev issued an advisory on Tuesday for Indian nationals in Ukraine. The embassy continues to monitor developments. Official sources said they are aware that many Indian students are presently in Ukraine and their families are anxious about their wards, particularly about getting flights to India. Sources said discussions are underway with civil aviation authorities and various airlines on how to increase the number of flights between India and Ukraine. The Embassy of India in Ukraine has set up a 24-hour helpline which can be accessed at +380 9973 00428 and +380 9973 00483. The email ID is cons1.kiev@mea.gov.in and website is www.eoiukraine.gov.in. In view of the prevailing situation in Ukraine, a control room has been set up at the Ministry of External Affairs to provide information and assistance. The toll-free number is 1800-118797. Other numbers are 011 2301 2113, 2301 4104 and 2301 7905. The email ID is situationroom@mea.gov.in.
A meeting between a senior delegation of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan and the European Union representatives was held in Doha on Tuesday. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, in a statement, said that the participants shared their plans, recommendations, and information on the humanitarian and health situation, the educational process, and the needs of Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Islamic Emirates Defense Minister, Maulavi Yaqoob, has said that the Taliban has not allowed Pakistan to continue fencing along the Durand Line. According to reports, consultations are underway on the issue. Meanwhile, residents who are living near the Durand Line areas say that they do not consider fencing on the Durand Line acceptable, and they call on Taliban to take serious actions to prevent fencing the de facto border with Pakistan. According to residents, Pakistan not only continues to fence along the line, but also regularly attacks their villages with artillery, which has made life difficult for people living in border villages near the Durand Line. In another report, the leader of Vahadat-e Mardam Party and senior member of Grand Resistance Front in Turkey, Mohammad Mohakkik, in an interview has expressed his concerns that the Hazara ethnic presence at government offices under the Taliban regime has come down to zero. He added those Hazara ethnics who worked at former government security agencies have either disappeared and been assassinated by Taliban or have left the country. Mohaqiq criticized the single ethnic rule, saying that even a single Hazara ethnic is not in the Taliban cabinet. He added that the Pakistan's ISI chief, in a visit to Turkey, extended his support for the formation of an inclusive government. However, the Pakistan embassy in Kabul denied such a meeting to have occurred.
India's Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways and Ayush, Mr. Sarbanand Sonowal, flagged off the maiden voyage of barges with a consignment of 1,798 metric tons of finished steel products of Tata Steel Limited from Haldia to Pandu in Assam through the Indo-Bangladesh Protocol route in the presence of Mr. Shantanu Thakur, Minister of State for Ports, Shipping and Waterways. In a statement, the Government of India said that the well-lit arterial network of rivers available in the eastern part of the country, coupled with the advantageous position of Haldia Dock Complex, SMPK, having well-established connectivity by rail, road and inland waterways deep into the hinterland, would add fillip towards optimally realizing the full potential of multimodal logistic chain in the region. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan will hold a virtual summit on Friday. Both leaders are expected to lay out their vision of the historic and friendly relations between the two countries at a time when India is celebrating 75 years of its independence as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and the UAE is celebrating the 50th anniversary of its foundation. The two leaders will also discuss bilateral cooperation, exchange views on regional and international issues of mutual interest. A report.
Building on a comprehensive strategic partnership, bilateral relations between India and the UAE have strengthened in all areas in recent years. The relations have been frequent, high-level visits between the two nations. Both sides have collaborated closely during the COVID-19 pandemic in critical areas of healthcare and food security. The UAE hosts a large Indian community which numbers close to 3.5 million. Prime Minister Modi had expressed India's appreciation to the leadership of UAE for supporting the Indian community during the pandemic. The UAE leadership has also been appreciative of the contribution of the Indian community in its development. Under the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the economic and commercial engagement was taken to the next level. UAE is India's third largest trade partner, and bilateral trade and investment ties are expected to see significant enhancements. Nina Oracle for World News, AIR.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on India's growing export sector. In conversation are Professor Yamini Agarwal, an economic analyst, and Shishir Sinha, a journalist.
Professor Yamini, the first question to you is that we have seen a very significant rise in export, and also we have seen significant rise in import also. How do you read these data?
Well, overall, there has been a change in the economic conditions after the pandemic because of the overall consumer demand that has risen after the pandemic, and especially after the vaccination program has gone through and the economies have started recovering. We do see that overall consumption by the consumers have increased. Also, we do see that there is pent-up demand, which is also existing in the market. And then there is overall very aggressive strategy adopted by the government to push forward the exports.
Okay. What are the key factors which is really helping in increasing the export?
Well, overall, if you look at the exports market, it is important to understand that the overall business ecosystem that has been there in the economy is fast changing with the logistics that are available with them, the huge amount of expenditure that is being done on the infrastructure, especially the digital infrastructure, which is bringing about a sea change in the platforms that are available for e-governance, like a single platform for all approvals. Also, when we see for businesses, there is rationalization of taxes, especially for the MSMEs. So we do see that, and we also see because there is a notional reform that is going on, even in the market with one power grid structure. These all reforms are taking forward the exports market for greater heights.
And do you think that when we are talking about PM Gati Shakti, which aims to bring down the logistic cost, this is going to help the export further?
Well, it's important to see that, for the exports, that the business environment is very good. So when the compliances, like 25,000 compliances, go away, or when you have rationalization of taxes, or you have the infrastructure built up, which is a multimodal infrastructure connecting ports, airports, roads, railways, and starting of new infrastructure, then we do hope that the entire scheme should lead to better business opportunities for startups as well as local producers in the economy.
One thing is slightly, do you think the worrying factor is import is high and that is also having an impact on overall trade deficit? Do you see any concern on that?
Well, yes, an important factor in the trade deficit is the fact that the imports continue to be high, and specifically in many of the items which are of necessities. So we do feel that, the trade deficit causes much of worry over there. But then overall, since the economic system is somewhere or the other supporting local traders, whether it is, putting them in the MSME ecosystems, or whether it's providing the necessary infrastructure, all of that does somewhere or the other puts up with the certainty that there would be reduced dependence on the imports.
One key element of import is the gold. The good thing is that it has come down by 40%. But at the same time, silver import has gone up by 9%. How do you see these two numbers?
Well, gold has always been consumption item in India, primarily because one looks at it as a saving and also as an ornament to be worn. So both the factors, and since India is one of the largest consumers, gold continues to be one of our major imports as well. Again, it has become a safe haven investment for people. So overall, that is one of the reasons for the prices of gold. When we look at silver, again, metals have increased in their prices overall in the world market. So if you look at the commodities market today, you do see an increase in the prices and an increase in the consumption because of its use in semiconductors or in other items which may be used in IT companies.
And do you see that now we are on the right track to achieve 400 billion target this year?
Well, overall, the infrastructure provisions, the governance provisions do support the ecosystem for a greater export. The 4 pillars identified by the Niti Aayog remains to be, which we talk about, policy, business ecosystem, export ecosystem, and export performances. What is important is to have a greater quality in the exports that are there, for which the Council needs to create requisite avenues and policies to ensure that quality exports take place.
And what more can be done now? Because now we are at a situation when we have to, we say that press the gas kind of thing. So what more can be done to have a greater share in the global supply chain? Because at this moment, the global supply chain share, our share in global supply chain is still very low.
Well, overall, again, one needs to recognize which are the parts where we can play a key role and co-exports provider. Let's say, for example, even in the textiles, we have a high potential of exports. We have a high potential in millets. We already have a strong potential in the services market, as well as we have a strong potential in a lot of other items that are there. So, in the globe, to be a participant in the core areas that we can supply for.
But in the year 2022, we are expecting some kind of slowdown in the global economy scenario. Do you think that this will have any impact on our export?
Yes, it does have an impact because overall exports are dependent upon the world markets. So if there is an effect of the variant of COVID on the world markets as well as of the geopolitical tensions that are going on, then it will directly affect our markets also. But because the overall exports continue to be some of the basic inputs that are there, like agro or the others, we do have a potential to actually increase our exports over the time.
And the one key factor is the Agri Export. This year is expected to be 43 billion, which is a record one. And the agriculture is the only sector during last 2 years which has seen a very good growth. So how do you see the potential of Agri Export?
Well, agriculture has a strong potential because we do have, when we talk about our geographical zones, about 8 geographical zones and diverse agriculture produce. What remains important in the component is how do we value add the agriculture produces. So in the budget, there was a corridor for organic farming to be laid in the Ganga River. But when we talk about organic farming and other value-added food processes, they will add value to the agriculture and allied products.
See, we have seen a mercantile export growth of 25% plus. But in terms of services, we have seen a growth of over 54% in the month of January if we compare with the January 2021. And it is also better than the pre-pandemic one. So what kind of potential and what kind of progress you see in terms of services growth?
I do see a strong potential in the services growth because India again has been one of the major suppliers of services in the world economies. Again, as I said, IT, financial services, medical services, tourism, and other services do play an important role in the market. So these will have a positive role to play in the services market itself.
And in terms of overall export strategy, whether we talk about merchandise and services or we combine both. So what will be the two key things which you think the government should put it on focus or should we put it on the priority so that whatsoever export growth we have, both merchandise as well as the services one, will have a much faster growth rate and that will also help in the manufacturing sector?
Well, it's important to first identify on the quality aspect and the products which are needed internationally by the market. And second is the strong marketing potential to be provided to the specially in financial credit made available to the MSMEs would be of great help.
And in terms of manufacturing, because our target is to take it to 25%, at this moment it is 15 to 16%. So how do you see the manufacturing sector and how do you see that the export will help manufacturing to grow? What are the key elements which needs to be kept in mind before talking about the strategy for manufacturing?
Well, the PIS scheme is already there available now by the government, made available by the government. Also leading to a key infrastructure requirements which includes the roads, railways, ports, airports, which decreases the overall logistics through the Guti Shakti scheme. Also a strong concentration on key markets which includes agriculture, marine, as well as semiconductors or AI or renewable energy or many other sources which are sunrise sources will also be an important means of developing manufacturing in India. Again, looking at the export potential, what would become important is to see that we do continue to remain services economy and that potential should be fostered with rationalized taxes both at the GST level as well as at the income tax level. So GST rationalization is also like cause an increase in the manufacturing.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alert.
Noted Indian music composer and singer Bapi Lahiri passed away at a Mumbai hospital Wednesday morning. He was 69 years old. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur have paid condolences at the demise of Bapi Lahiri. The singer's family, in a statement, said Lahiri's funeral will be held on Thursday after the arrival of his son Bappa Lahiri from the US.
A team of scientists, including Indian and international collaborators, have derived the accurate value of Pluto's atmospheric pressure at its surface. It is more than 80,000 times less than the atmospheric pressure at mean sea level on Earth. The study was based on observations from Devasthal Observatory in Nainital, Uttarakhand. An international team of scientists, including members from Aryabhat Research Institute of Observational Sciences, or ARIES, used signal-to-noise ratio light curves obtained from sophisticated instruments used in the observations to derive an accurate value of Pluto's atmospheric pressure at its surface. The study also confirms earlier findings that Pluto suffers intense seasonal episodes because of a large depression on Pluto known as Sputnik Planitia. Moving on to sports, in the UEFA Champions League round of 16, Paris Saint-Germain secured a 1-0 victory over Real Madrid in the first leg. A late goal by Kylian Mbappe at the 94th minute proved to be the difference between the two European giants. In the other fixture, Manchester City defeated Sporting CP by 5-0 in another fixture at Lisboa. The second leg between these two teams will take place next month. In cricket, India beat West Indies by 6 wickets in the first T20 International of the 3-match series at Eden Gardens in Kolkata. Chasing a victory target of 158 runs set by West Indies, the hosts made 162 for the loss of 4 wickets in 18.5 overs. For India, Rohit Sharma made 40 in 19 balls, while Ishan Kishan 35 and Surya Kumar Yadav 34 runs. Earlier, batting first, West Indies made 157 runs for the loss of 7 wickets. For West Indies, Nicholas Puran with 61 was the top scorer, while Kyle Mayers made 31 runs. For India, Ravi Bishnoi and Harshal Patel took 2 wickets each, while Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Deepak Chahar and Yuzvendra Chahal claimed 1 wicket each.
And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at what made the headlines in Nepal. Most prominent Nepalese publications carried the report of the death of veteran India singer, music composer Bapi Lahiri. Global Times writes that the US is manipulating Nepal and the MCC, a geopolitical pact targeting China. However, other reports state that the US has dismissed the allegation. And now, some news from Bangladesh. Bangladesh reported 15 deaths and 3,929 daily cases on Wednesday, taking the death toll due to coronavirus in the country to 28,887, reports Prothomalo. Financial Express writes that Education Minister Dr. Deepu Moni has said that all educational institutions in the country will be open this month. And now let's take a look at the press reports from China. Many media houses carried the news of participation of India's alpine skier Arif Mohammad Khan from Jammu and Kashmir in slalom event on Wednesday at 2022 Winter Olympics. Earlier, Arif gave India its best finish in men's giant slalom on Sunday. New York Times writes about the uncertainty in the succession in the top Chinese leadership. And Voice of America writes that US is looking to Japan, South Korea allies to assist in resisting China's expansion and to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait.
In some more news, a new review by the UK Health Security Agency, UK HSA, shows that people who have had 1 or more doses of coronavirus vaccine are less likely to develop long COVID than those who remain unvaccinated. The UK HSA has undertaken a rapid evidence review looking at the effects of vaccination against long COVID or post-COVID symptoms.
Now a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi calls upon developed countries to fulfill their commitments on finance and technology transfer for successful climate action. Russia announces end of military drills in Crimea. US President Joe Biden asserts that diplomatic solution and de-escalation are still possibilities. Government of India sets up a control room to provide information and assistance to Indians in Ukraine. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to hold a virtual summit on Friday. Maiden voyage of shipment of steel from Haldia to Pandu takes place to the Indo-Bangladesh protocol route. Noted Bollywood music composer and singer Bapi Lahiri passes away in Mumbai, funeral to be held on Thursday. And in cricket, in the first T20 International, India beat the West Indies by 6 wickets at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata.
And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Hungary.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.